Ding.
Oh, okay.
There we go. We
Yeah.
are now live. And so welcome. I'm just waiting for YouTube to do the thing where I'm going to be, yeah, making noise. There we go. All right. Welcome, everyone. I've got to figure this out so that YouTube doesn't do that. YouTube doesn't like just pop up. Anyways, this is the whole fun of being live. So welcome. We're here for Loving, Healing, Creating 2.0. We're doing things a little bit differently this year. I am your host, Larissa Russell. And this is our fifth annual Loving, Healing, Creating Summit. And this year, like I said, we're going to do things a little differently. And today I have with me Lauri Ingram. Lauri is a seeker of truth, motivated by her curiosity and desire to lead others on their own journeys of self-discovery. She believes we all long to lead a fulfilled life and that it is in the journey that we find fulfillment as we discover our personal truths. So welcome, Lauri.
Thank you, Larissa. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yes, I do enjoy you. So I'm very happy to have you here. And for those who don't know you, can you tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about yourself and your journey through the realm of creativity and healing?
Oh, sure. So I am a spiritual counselor. That's what I do now. My life, however, was kind of this journey like this to get here. I was always creative from the time I was a child, crayons, coloring, drawing, everything through even my adult life. I always had creative hobbies. Although I secretly longed to be an artist, I ended up in the field of information technology. And I just left that career about a year and a half ago. 43 years in information technology. But I always had hobbies. But it was about 10 years ago though that I realized that I really wasn't very fulfilled in what I did. And I started down this journey really to explore all sorts of things, all sorts of modalities and holistic techniques and practices. I became very interested in mindfulness and meditation. And I reconnected with my creativity really in a different way. And I used it as a journey inward. I did a lot of art journaling and really seeking to uncover in myself who I really was and the things that had formed me, and actually, in some cases, were perhaps still in my way. What I also learned in the past 10 years is that we are creative beings in more than just an artistic way. We're creative by the way we dress, we're creative by the way we live, but we also co-create our reality. And what I was able to do after this awakening that I had was really create an entirely new life that now I live in full time. So creativity to me means a lot of things, a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good point because we often get caught in creativity is, writing a novel or painting a masterpiece or playing in a symphony. But
Mhm.
creativity is literally in everything we do. And so how we
Absolutely.
choose to explore that, right? Yeah, yeah.
And when
And
we realize, yeah, when we realize that we are creating by our energy everything that comes to us, it really changes the way you live your life. And it changed the way I worked a lot. Being very present really changed my um, persona. I worked in information technology, a very high stress, high pressure area, but I was kind of the outside the norm a bit because I actually was a mindfulness advocate as well as working in IT. I led meditation groups. I practiced regularly on my own and explored all sorts of modalities that were color based and crystals, and just I really had fun of really creating for myself now a life that's well versed in exploring all these different levels of consciousness and truly being conscious in all the choices that I make.
It's interesting that you say, about being in IT. I was in oil and gas, right? So here in Alberta, that's a big thing.
Right.
I talked to many people who were in very, you know, linear thinking type jobs, and then have moved now into this very energy based feeling into work that they do. And that switch can be, I think you start to layer it, right? Until
Yes.
you
Right.
realize that the thinking, the linear is not working anymore. That
Yeah.
was my experience. Can you maybe speak to that and what that was like to do
Yes.
that?
Well, retrospect isn't hindsight great, right? I look back on my life and I realized just how difficult it always was for me to be in that linear thinking. And, but like so many of us, I had challenges in my life where I really had to. I had to work. I was a single mother. I did the things I had to do. So I made it work. But
Mhm.
once I had that, and it was like in my mid 50s. So I literally walked into work one day and realized that it just didn't work for me anymore. And that's when I realized how difficult it was for me to to be in to be just so different from everybody else. I didn't realize how different I really was. But yet, what I was able to do was to take advantage of the fact that I was different and make that part of who I was and really be me. And I was very fortunate in that it affected me very well in my job because I had the opportunity to work with people who saw that in me and gave me the opportunity to do some different things and be creative and be a problem solver, which is a very creative thing, right? Problem
Mhm.
solving. Until the point where I hit this tipping point where I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I had to make a choice, right? It was time to, being close to 65. It was like, do you keep doing this IT stuff or do you just take the leap and not really retire, but really reinvent myself, which is what I did. I just reinvented my life.
Mhm.
And I look back and wonder how I did it as long as I did. But I was able to create an environment that helped me, I think, bring out the best in me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so when you look back and you're like, how did I survive that? And you realize you just weren't living your best life. You just worked,
exactly.
right?
It was
And you just were
survival,
surviving. Yeah.
surviving. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how would you say then that creativity played a role in your own personal healing?
The first practice that I did right about 10 years ago, where is I combined, I was writing a lot, a big journaler, always writing. But one day I took out pictures of myself when I was a baby. A picture of myself, I was a few months old, and then a picture of myself with my parents. And I made copies of them and I put them in my journal. And in meditation, I sat with that and connected with who I was at that age, right? What I was feeling, what emotions did I see in those pictures? That really unfolded for me the opportunity to do a lot of inner child work of the difficulties I had and how I was a very so many of us are like this, right? I was a very sensitive child. I was always crying. I was always, nobody quite knew what to do with me, but I shut it all down. So through art, a very cathartic art journaling process, I unearthed a lot of the childhood wounds that really needed to be brought back into wholeness for me because they are a part of who I am. Right now, I just look at them differently.
Hmm.
So,
I love that idea as someone who's just delving into inner child work right
um,
now. I've been putting it off. And so I'm
Yeah,
like, I,
I understand
I
that.
will
Yes.
get out the art journal, and that's a great idea, actually.
There's something about really going back into those old photos. Um, some of them were like, and there's not many of me when I was a child, but they were very there's a lot in there to 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 unravel. And I did it up through like high school. I found them.
Mhm.
Um, so it's obviously a very private process. But when you start to bring in color and texture, right, all the things that have an energy to them, along with the energy of the photos and the words you journal with, and it's a very, very powerful exercise.
Hmm. I'd love to see you lead something on that now that
I
I'm
would
thinking
love
about
to.
it.
I would love
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should talk about that. All right.
Great.
Side note.
Okay. Yeah.
Collaboration is one of my core values, and it's something I talk about a
Mhm.
lot with the feminine energy and collaboration.
Mhm.
And how do you see the role of collaboration in the creative healing process?
I also love collaborating. I'm always looking for opportunities to collaborate because I do believe that we learn, not only do we learn from others, but we all have a different energy that we bring. And when you can find others to be with, to learn from, whether it's something like this where you're collaborating online, or whether, like in your mastermind, the groups that we have, you're you're building a group energy that unlocks some things that often you can't get to with your mind energetically. Through that collaboration, things unfold and
Mhm.
can shift, because I always, I do believe that the universe is always speaking to us. And actually, we were just talking about this before we started, right? Often what we say to somebody is exactly what we need to hear, right? And often what someone else may say, they may say for themselves, but you probably need to hear it too. So when you start to look at life as a constant stream of communication, it collaborate without collaboration of different kinds, you're really missing an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. And just as you were answering, I'm like, I literally just asked you about collaborating, like, inner child work. Yes.
Yeah,
I am feeling very uncomfortable about doing this on my own. So maybe
yeah,
someone who's been through it would have some
right.
insight, right?
And
And
I
so, yeah.
exactly, and then having that supportive, non-judgmental, safe space
Mm,
to create,
very nice.
create it. I'm a spiritual counselor. I'm also an interspiritual minister. And I went through years of training. Creating sacred and safe space is really the foundation for doing any of this healing work, whether you're doing it on your own, one on one, or in a group. Um, knowing that the energy of the space is holding you in something that is sacred and transformative, really shifts. It shifts the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. I just want to say hello to all those that are watching us live. If you have any questions for Lauri, please pop them in the chat, or if you just want to say hi, please do that, and say hello. And Lauri, the whole idea behind loving, healing, creating, that when we created it, well, the very first year, 5 years ago, was that whole idea of creation, healing, and the love aspect, right? And
Right.
and how
Right.
how do you think you bring that love either to your own self, which I think is the
Mm-hmm.
most important,
Yeah.
but bring love into your creative healing process?
Well, if I can get a little spiritual for a moment, it is said, and I actually am also a wedding officiant. I actually say this usually in weddings. It's said that when we experience love for ourselves or for another, that when we experience love, we're actually experiencing the divine, whatever language you may use for that. Um, so bringing yourself into a place where you're living from your heart as opposed to your head and your brain is really the center of love. Love is the unifying energy of everything. It is, no, some of the work I do is shamanic work where we actually travel into other realms of consciousness. The only thing that exists in those levels of consciousness and higher vibration is love. And we can practice that by disconnecting from our brains and bringing our awareness down to our hearts. And whether it's meditative work or creativity or just how we talk to ourselves, right? Self-talk. Doing that from a place of heart-centeredness brings us into that very high vibration of love. And then attracts, I believe, it creates everything around us in that vibration.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We spend so much time in our head, right? Where we think about everything, and we haven't really learned how to feel into.
Right.
And I think that's why people find love so uncomfortable, right? Like, I don't want to say it first. I don't, oh, I can get hurt. Like all of these things, it's uncomfortable because we don't allow ourselves to really
Feel it,
feel
right?
into. Yeah.
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 And it starts with us, right?
Yeah.
Until we truly can feel and live in a love for ourselves and acceptance and grace for all the parts of us, then we can truly love others. And I also don't believe that we're not broken. We've just, in many cases, we've just forgotten who we are.
Yeah.
Life is a process of reconnecting to who we really are, that we've just been, through limiting beliefs and all those things, right, have gotten in our way.
Yeah. Yeah. And CJ says hello. Elaine says hello, Lauri.
Oh,
Elaine,
hello.
it's all in the vibrations from within. And it's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
It's
Yeah.
very true. Very true.
Yeah. So, Lauri, you are sharing your session. Excuse me. Your session goes live tomorrow for those who have registered, today for those who have already purchased, and discover your authentic self through heart-centered living. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So what I'm sharing is a bit about connecting down again into your heart and feeling from your heart. But the creative practice that I'm sharing is the opposite of color. It's called reverse coloring. So, typically we draw lines if we're coloring, you're coloring within the lines. This is the opposite. This is moving a lot of color with no purpose in mind and then drawing over it images and words. And this is an opportunity to practice some beautiful internal self-talk that is love-based, that is the things about you that you love, the values that you hold, really seeing in you what is true and doing that in a very creative way. And I've always been a doodler, so it's a very kind of doodly kind of practice,
Oh,
but
I love
a
that.
lot
I
of
love
fun.
that.
A lot of fun.
I've even noticed that there's reverse coloring books now,
There
which,
are there are
and I'm
actually
just like,
books
this
now
is
you can buy.
fascinating.
It is, yeah. There are reverse coloring books. It's a
Yeah.
whole different way of looking at it because there's no wrong way to do any of this, but
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to really do things differently. And when I do it, when I put the colors down, I actually use my non-dominant hand, so I'm less likely to try to make a picture.
Mm. That's a really
um,
great idea. Yeah.
yeah.
Uses the other
So
side of the brain. And
exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
And we, CJ said, we're not broken. We've just forgotten who we are, which is the comment that you made. And
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. And Elaine says she loves doodling too. Um, CJ is Karen. Okay. Hi. Hi, Karen. I just put the link for the summit if you haven't already registered. And so just so you know that the free session will go live tomorrow for 24 hours. So that's tomorrow, February 24th. You'll get Lauri's session for free, and you'll get access for 24 hours. Or if you would like to purchase, it will be in there in about 30 minutes or less. I just have to go and send an email and make sure that our link from today's chat is there. And so if you've already purchased, you'll have that today. And yeah, I just want to thank you, Lauri, for joining me here and sharing what
No,
you do
thank
and
you.
how you do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Larissa. Thanks to everyone who was here live and all of you who will watch it in the future.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much.